What's going on, everyone? We're back here for NRL Fantasy Analysis. We're going to be going through the first three games of the round, starting off with the Eels and the Raiders, and some really nice scores here, and a pretty good game, actually. It was, spoke about in the preview that the Raiders were, playing really well at the moment. They were a chance of maybe topping the Eels off, but I still thought that the Eels would win, and, may have been able to win at the end. Obviously a bit of controversy on that one, but a really good game of footy. Obviously, 0-0 for, the majority of the game there before Corey Harawira-Naera opened up the scoring there in the second half. So when it's these types of games, a bit more low scoring. Obviously, the ball's in play a lot, the six against and stuff. There's going to be a lot of tackles, a lot of runs, and you can see that in most of the top players here, and going to be less of the outside backs that are sort of scoring as well, just with the limited tackles. But you see Jordan Rapana up top with 102. So I know there are a few people out there that do have him being that centre wing fullback dual position at a pretty solid price there. And he's actually averaging now 46.7 for the year. And he was a really solid option earlier on before he got injured and didn't get to play for a few games. Everyone decided to trade him out then. And I think a few people have brought him back since. So 102 for him, just was in absolutely everything. Even got the try saver at the end. With his knee, I can't believe his knee didn't snap. I swear I was like ACL for sure. In the post game, he's like, yeah, I felt like my knee snapped. I don't know how people can just run, just a normal run down the field and slight change of direction and do their ACL, but that can happen to your knee and nothing happens. So hopefully he's all right. But that was it. Joe Tarpany was 71. He's 56 minutes. So when he gets big minutes, the type of work ethic he has, and he didn't even get too many attacking stats. It was mainly through the base in the middle there. So well done to him. And then Corey, so back-to-back really strong games, and now averaging 58. So he was someone that a couple of weeks ago people were thinking about trading him out. Possibly he just wasn't hitting the heights that he had in that one or two games earlier in the year. And then the last two, he's got over 100, 106, and then 71 in these two games. Been absolutely incredible. He actually started this game really slowly too, and then picked it up. Ran the ball a lot more, got his tackle breaks and offloads, and tackled well, and then finished obviously with a try in the second half. So he was awesome. And then you got Isaiah Papali'i with 66 as well. Coming out with a really strong game. Following his lighter game last week, but he obviously did get to play 80 minutes along with Ryan Madison, which was really strong and helpful for those guys. Obviously, the middle forwards and the edge forwards there are going to be getting a lot of work with the running and the tackling. So again, not too many attacking stats for him, but a really good base in 36 tackles and 210 meters. So Papali'i is definitely a must-have, going into the rest of the season. Hudson Young, that's another good game in a row, averaging 53.3 for the year. And just the annoying part of him was just being in the other side, being the starter on the right for a good portion of the year, getting moved back to the bench, getting moved around. Now he's back in the starting side again for Whitehead. So there'll be a few more weeks for him in that position. So I wouldn't be picking up Hudson at this stage. Madison and Marnie, both really, really strong games. Marnie not playing the full 80, but not needing it. 160 kick meters, 55 tackles was all he needed to get 60. And at 643 there, 685 there, a little bit underpriced based on his average of 63. So he's someone I think most people will need, and just sort of that hooker saviour that we've all been looking for. Obviously, we got Ben Hunt to play, in the next day or two, but Marnie's one of those guys that I think most people will really need in that hooking position. When you've got guys like Cook, Grant's not around, all these, Smith's kind of dominating, which we'll talk about in a second, but there's not too many hookers that are going around smashing it. So that's good for anyone that owns him or wants to own him. Madison, two really good games in a row now. Actually, three really strong games. Averaging 52.8 now after a bit of a slow start and a slow little middle. He's really kicked on and really helping my team now that I've decided to hold him, which was good. 80 minutes this week, not getting that every week, but it was nice to see that in this one. Obviously, that a few players come on and off with HIAs and things like that. So helped Madison, I suppose, get the 80 minutes in this game. Not too much else to say. Just mainly in base, he's going to be. This is kind of the scores that we expected from him. He averaged over 60 last year, so just keep an eye on that. And if he continues to do that, you get him at a bit of a discount for sure as one of the best edges in the game. Junior Paulo, nice game. Hodgson, 51, so you'll take that if you own him. Matt Frawley comes in and gets 51. Well done to him. Basically in base only. Nathan Brown's been flying under the radar a little bit, as a few people have told me. But picks up 48. So a solid score, but back to sort of where he was at the start of the season. That 5 missed tackles is not going to help him, though. Dylan Brown didn't take over too much in the absence of Mitch Moses. Arthur's actually a pretty solid player, I think. So when you look at his kicking in general play, he's a 250. Runs the ball as well. So they're splitting the time between the two players. Brown is more of a running half for sure. So makes sense that they bring in someone that's a little bit more of an organizer. They can split the kicking with Dylan. So 45 there was a nice try. That was a really good one from Fergo and Dylan Brown there. Gutho with 43. Okay game. Didn't have to do too much. Obviously got the try assist there. Was a bit slow through the start of the game. Obviously the outside backs aren't going to be doing as much in this one when it's more that grindy back and forth through the middle game. So Gutho, an okay game. You'll take that in amongst the the 80s and stuff that you got from him last week. Starling okay off the bench. Sebastian Kris, if you're still holding him, that's a really nice solid one. But I think you'd be having him just as cover only. Sutton's just not going to get the minutes that we need him to do, and averaging 46. So again, another lesson for someone at the start of the year that really came on the scene and smashed it, and then fell by the wayside a little bit, got injured, come back, and just hasn't been himself since. So that's that there. Arthur, solid one. If you picked him up earlier on the year, you get another chance for him to play for another few weeks and gain some money. But at 325, 350, whatever he's going to be after this week, I don't think you can use him as a cash out. You're not going to be earning enough money from that trade out, unfortunately. But if you ever need to, he's there as like a your 18th man kind of player if you need it. That's about all in this game, I think, apart from Josh Papali'i who went down, went off early after 7 minutes with 17 points in that time. So he was good. We'll have to see what happens with him following this, but he's already lost a lot of money. I don't think too many people have him at this stage. So that's that with that first game, guys. In terms of try scorers, I said Gutho would score again. Didn't happen. Rapana, I didn't really pick too many try scorers in this one, I don't think. So that was that. But we move on to the Roosters and the Knights, and I feel like I picked this one pretty well. I also said that Teddy would probably score, and that didn't happen, so that might have killed people. But very standard with the back rowers for the Roosters scoring tries there, Tupinoi and Crichton. Teddy should have scored one at the end if Bradley wasn't in cover, but just pretty much exactly what I thought it would be. With no Pearce, they're just not the same team. The Knights, they started really well. They look like they're a good chance of winning, and it just didn't happen. Someone I think is, obviously the Saifidi brothers really, really carrying this side, but Connor Watson I think is such a good man through the middle. He's so fast, obviously smart. He's a half hooker, in playing in a forward position or a forward's body now. Just electric. He helped put on that first try, and just tackles hard, plays hard, does everything right. 69 points again is amazing. If you've held on to him like our teams have. I know a lot of people are still holding on to him. I've mentioned him as someone that you should keep in your side as your sort of 17th, 18th man that can cover the hooking position that's been pretty poor. He's been awesome the last few weeks. 69, 48 last week, and then at 80 odd the week before. 48 tackles for no misses for someone of his stature is awesome. So well done team on holding him. Crichton had a really slow start, but picked up well and got a couple of line breaks and a try to finish off with 226 meters. If he's going to be doing that, you'll be expecting some form of tries or tackle breaks or offloads for him there. Someone who's really flown under the radar for most people is Victor Radley, and he's been awesome, playing big minutes. Obviously, 80 minutes for someone in the middle in this type of game where he's the link man in a lot of assisting, line break assists, that kind of stuff there. But also someone who's going to tackle hard and do really well for your squad. And Victor's your man. And if you need someone at that, he's going to be about 550 after this week, after this couple of good ones in a row. But he's someone that you can get at a cheap price that should play the rest of the year and will be pretty fresh because he's had a fair few games off. You think of the Roosters team and how many players they have that are really struggling at the moment, or have gone through some injuries. They've played all year in this and had to really carry the side. Victor's missed a lot of games, so this is kind of his time to shine and help them get stick in that top six there, and propel them to maybe a win or two in the finals. But so Victor's a man if you need someone at a cheaper price. Maybe that helps you get Cleary. You can play him as like your 17th man and get Cleary back. If you held on to Brayley, did well with 58, was just on the back of 58 tackles and a little bit of running there. Not too much to say on him. Frizzell, definitely back to a good option. Just didn't have to do too much and still got 56. So I'd be looking at him as a really solid one. Verrills with a nice little price rise we'll get from him after he's 45. So we'll see him up around 330, 340 after this week. Just 44 tackles in this type of game is going to be perfect for him. Anyone else? Ponga, sort of 41 in a beaten side. So I think, he can do it. He can still average 50 odd, I think. But they need Pierce back. When Pierce comes back, I can see him averaging over 60. When he's not there, I can see somewhere in the 50s. So he's still a solid player, but I think he's going to drop over the next few weeks, and you can get him and he can dominate, sort of maybe the back 3 to 4 rounds when there's an injury in the fullbacks or whatever you decide to pick him up. So I think you can get him somewhere in the low 600s will be perfect for anyone's side. Sam Walker, just that up and down again, back to that sort of normal scoring and amongst those really, really high ones. So he's definitely a trade out. Kurt Mann, the centers, Billy Smith. So I think people would have brought him in, unfortunately, as sort of like some center cover. And now he's out. It looks like he'll be out for the year. He was in a moon boot last night after, in the midst of that game. So unfortunate for him. But yeah, that's about all to say. Cavalli went off as well. So they still had so many injuries again, and they still able to win so well. So congrats to the Roosters in this one. And I think I was pretty close. I think I said 30 to 12 in this one. So I'll take that. For sure. Did not pick this one. My Cowboys, they almost got there. They actually played really well. I was actually really proud of them. There's just that one play right at the end. I think they're up 12-10 and put a little grubber. No, were they down? They might have been down at this point right at the end and put that little grubber through on the fourth tackle. Or didn't put it through. Literally kicked it straight into Jerome Hughes' hands, who ran about 60 metres. Obviously, got plenty of run meters for Hughesy and anyone who was excited to see that. But for the Cowboys, I think that was the turning point, and that sort of stopped them winning. There's only so many times you can give Storm possession and expect them not to score, and they obviously did on the back of that. But really good game of footy. I'm really happy with the few games that have been played this week. It was actually fairly competitive in all of them, and maybe that's to do with Origin being done and teams back to full health. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, really good game. Topped by Jerome Hughes again and Brandon Smith, both amazing players, like just getting better and better every week. I think Smithy's got to be with Tommy Trbojevic and Hughes. I think it's probably those three, the three form players at the comp by far. Absolutely incredible. Hughes just doing it all. 32 tackles for 1 miss is amazing. Didn't even really need any attacking stats apart from one line break to get his 76. So he's almost a must-have in anyone's side. Him, DCE. You'd want to mix, like they're clearly better than all the other guys in their positions. Like I think we've kind of got most of the top guys in the mids, the edge, the wing fullback position, but half somewhere I think where if you can pick up a couple of these guys, 2 to 3 of these guys, whether that's Cleary or you've at least got Hughes and DCE, I think it's going to be really helpful for you going forward and being able to absolutely smash the weeks to come and finish with a really nice rank or win your head-to-heads or whatever you need to do. So that's Hughes there. Smithy with 58 in his 68 minutes, and cute little moment there, and it was good to see about my Ryan Pappenhausen, my favourite player. Just thought I'd put it out there for Smithy to give him a nice little hug and say welcome back, because it's been a very tough tough couple of months, to 10 weeks there for Pap, obviously being in and out in the first place, then having some a lot of concussion issues. So it's good to see him back, but Smithy coming off for just a little bit of a rest. But other than that, 58 points in that time, 5 missed tackles, but just amazing at the start of the game, just like ducking and weaving, just getting a bunch of tackle breaks and breaking the line there. 161 meters for your 9. It's just a new way of doing it, and it was something that Damien Cook was really good at the last few years, and they've gone away from that game plan a little bit, but I still think that the way that the Rabbitohs are doing things compared to the way the Storm doing things are still both super effective. Obviously, Cook's just getting early ball out to his halves and really using the edges, whereas the Storm guys really like to bury their way through the middle, tire them out, and then really shift it out wide to the speedmen, and obviously the talented guys in Hughes and Munster to get to their outside guys. So different way of doing it, different game plan, but just as effective for sure. Welch with a nice score, but most people don't have him anymore. Drinkwater was okay, 49. Had a solid game. I do really like him. I went from last year thinking he was, just an okay player. He did kind of burn my fantasy team a little bit, which might have put some bias into it, but I only thought he was okay last year, and I'd say he's probably close to our best player this year. Murray Talangi's been great as well, but I suppose we don't have too many shining lights in this Cowboy side this year. Justin Olam, if you're still holding him as sort of centre cover, he had a nice game with 47. Spoke about Talangi there. He's been solid after a quiet one last week. Tommy Gilbert's in there doing bits and pieces. Nico Hines there with 42. Actually, we should mention Kane Bradley, who was denied an absolute shocking call. I know it's by the letter of the law, but with that one, it affected no one. It was a great play. But then, the Storm won 2 seconds later. If you look at the defenders when who was it run through? Nelson? No, Welch. Well, when Welch ran through, you could see the eyes of the defenders, the two that when he ran past the two of them, the eyes of both defenders were literally looking at the player who had the ball, Hughes or whoever it was that had the ball in their hands. They had no eyes for Welch. He runs straight through the gap. So yeah, there's two. They had to call that one back because Smithy who had the ball. They had to call that one back because they called the Cowboys one back. But both of them should be tries. Like if we're talking about enjoyment of the game and putting on really good plays, they were both really awesome rugby league tries, and to take them away I think is a bit silly. Yes, maybe to the letter of the law it's half a say, but there was no impediment on the defense. That's kind of I suppose the worry. Like yes, I understand if you're running into the player and obstructing him that way, then that's completely fair. But yeah, these ones was a bit annoying. But yeah, my point is to deny Bradley his debut try off that was annoying. But he did happen to get a try later in the game. Anywho, Nicho Hynes, 42, really didn't do too much. 80 meters run, I suppose, was the story. Usually he's 150 to 200, and he did get moved to the 9 position at times. So, I suppose that hurt him a little bit, but just a bit of a nothing game. For him to still get 42, you take that for sure. But it just wasn't their normal dominating game, and he didn't get much space, to be fair. So 42. How are they going to play him over the next few weeks? Yeah, he did move into the 9 position for a little bit, so obviously a couple extra tackles. You see him there with 19 tackles there, which is great, obviously, for points, and that's how he sort of bumped up his scoring. But going forward, it might be almost time to move him on. Let's have a look. We'll have to have a look at their schedule over the next few weeks, but it might be a nice time to upgrade him. If Pap's going to be coming back in a full-time capacity, we'll have to see how they name their teams next week. But that's that there. I really like Lukey for the Cowboys as well. I think he's going to be a really solid player, getting bigger minutes as we go along through the next few years. I imagine he might, depending how he goes, if he plays a few more games like this, he'll probably end up at like a 400k player next year. But I think he's someone, definitely for the future for the Cowboys. Just a big, strong, athletic body. So keep an eye out on him. Let's move on to probably most important one in this game is Jason Taumalolo. Still got big minutes. Really happy with that. Just, I know in attack last night he looked okay. Just still 147 meters, but just one tackle break, only 24 tackles. Just wasn't really his night. He's had 3 really good games before this, so we can put that down to it. Just having a quiet one. We've seen that with Angus Crichton. We've seen it with Papali'i. We've seen it with all these guys where they've had that quiet one in between a bunch of really good weeks. So not too much more I want to say on that for Lolo, but if you've picked him up over this week or the last few weeks, then 3 weeks ago you're still okay with this decision. If you picked him up this week, you're a little bit annoyed, but just be aware that this happens to all the great players. They always have a lighter game there, but the last 3 weeks he's been averaging in the 60s, so just be aware of that. And Lolo's done this a few times this year, so that's that. Remus Smith there with the try, and just a lower game this week. Just really didn't do too much. Drinkwater had a lot of the ball in his hand. I think that's fair. I think Drinkwater's a better player at the moment. Dearden has a chance to get there, but at this stage he's not there yet. So completely fair that some games he's gonna do a fair bit. Like he's priced at 519, which means he's scoring and averaging really well. He was averaging 40 before this, so been a really solid player so far, but just not that level yet to sort of take over the game for the Cowboys. Is kind of what I'm getting at. Penne, how good's Penne for the Aaron Penne for the Storm? He's been awesome, and yeah, just good to see Pap come back. I suppose was the biggest takeaway from this game. Looked okay. Did get ragdoll around a little bit. I think and got head high his first tackle first run. But yeah, just nice to see him back. I'm sure he would have had a few butterflies, a little bit of head noise possibly coming into this one. But yeah, it'd be good to blow those cobwebs off, and he might play 50 to 60 minutes next week. But we'll work out what's happening based on the team list over the next few weeks. But there you go, guys. That's the first 3 games of the week. We'll jump in tomorrow and go through obviously the Sunday games as well. The Saturday game, sorry, and we'll work it out from there. But please, if you are enjoying this, best way to support me is hit like, hit subscribe. Very much appreciated. We'll catch you in the next one, team. Have a good Saturday. Catch you later.